Okay, how are we doing today? My name is Melissa Kinney, and excuse me, welcome to DES109, Graphic Design 1. I'm your instructor for this mod 12. Currently is Monday, November 12th. This is the 6:30 Mountain Time live session number 1. We're going to be doing a second one on Tuesdays as well. Excuse me, hoping to just break up the sessions a little bit so that no one gets stale and kind of bogged up with information. Let's just jump right in. Okay, so as I said, welcome. This is going to be our agenda for today's session. We're going to do some introductions. Hopefully we'll get a couple, at least, students today, so I can learn a little bit about you folks and you guys can learn a little bit about me. We're going to go over the course a little bit, the description, where you can locate the grading information, go over Canvas a little bit in case this is only, your first class or one of your first classes. Go over the platform there so you know how to navigate it. Some tips on how to be successful in this class, as well as a week 1 overview and this week's assignment. Excuse me. And then a little bit about graphic design. Okay, like I said, my name is Melissa Kinney. I have worked as a designer for almost 15 years. I've done a lot of different kinds of work, print layouts and logos and branding and packaging design and web design and screen print work and pretty much a little bit of everything. If I didn't know how to do it, or if I don't know how to do it, I figure out how. Currently working towards my master's degree in web design. I'm actually attending online courses myself as a student at Southern New Hampshire University. And hopefully I'll be done with that in about a year. So my master's, like I said, information technology, and the concentration is going to be in web design and development. And in my spare time, I love playing volleyball. I have a play on a Sunday night league and dyeing my hair different colors. I like to kind of be fun with it. Best ways to be able to reach me, you can shoot me a text message or give me a ring at 774-419-5269. Just make sure that you're aware of the time zone. I am on the East Coast, so I'm a few hours ahead probably of most of you. Excuse me. So I do check my email probably more frequently than actually being able to call or text back, but I will be checking everything regularly. So you have my email right down at the bottom there, or you can even message me through your inbox in Canvas. You can do that. First things first, like I said, I would love for all of you to please introduce yourself. There is a discussion just for that purpose, so I can find out a little bit about you guys. If you could include this information, you got your name, where you are located, what your major is, if you're actually majoring in graphics, or if you have a different major and you're taking this on the side, what your career goals are, what you're looking to do. And then just anything fun, like, for example, the fact that I like to play volleyball and dye my hair different colors. It will give me a lot more context for who my students are and where you guys are coming from. A lot of the time when you are in the art field, it's actually really great to learn a little bit about the artists themselves, because it kind of gives you a context for where their creations come from, where they're going, what their message is. So this is a great way for me to learn a little bit about you guys and feel like I kind of know you, as opposed to just being on the computer. Okay, so let's actually get started. We're going to take a little tour go through the home page of Canvas and go through the shortcuts. Going to look at the announcements, kind of go through them just a little bit. Most of you probably received a couple emails today from some announcements that were posted. If you didn't receive those, there's a setting that you can actually change to make sure you get those. So it automatically comes right in. You don't have to actually sign in to check those announcements. We'll go through the course information page and the live sessions page. Excuse me, I'm kind of stumbling over my words tonight. And also the course media page. Also very, very important links there. So I'm actually just going to close out there. There we go. Okay, so just to get started, this is your home page after you have signed into Canvas. Excuse me. We have your basic shortcuts up top here as well as below, and we have the navigation on the left-hand side. Okay, up top we have your daily checkpoints, which are to be completed every day. There's just a small video. I think most of them are under 5 minutes or so. I think I saw some that were even like 3 minutes, and just has a couple of questions that you have to answer. So these have to be completed daily. I believe you only need to get 5 right, and anything over that is extra credit. So it's a very, very easy thing to do to earn a couple extra points. Could mean the difference between a B and an A, or passing and not passing. So make sure you get those in. Like I said, super, super easy. We have the Resource Center and the Success Center right here, 2 very helpful links. The library to do some of your research. Computer support, like the help desk, excuse me, is located over here. And live session and readings and videos links, you'll probably use these 2 the most. This one right here is a little bit about me. We'll click on that in just a second. And down below, we actually have some really quick links to get directly to your assignments, so you don't have to go through the modules or anything like that. So we're gonna click right in here real quick. Again, we got my name, my email, phone number, a little bit of additional contact information. Just in case you happen to forget, you didn't write down my information, whatever, this stuff is always in here. Excuse me. So you know how to contact me. Okay, we're going to head right over here to the left-hand side, the announcements. This is my way of being able to contact you folks. So make sure you check this frequently. This first announcement actually is something that automatically gets posted, has your information for which courses you actually need, which programs you actually need for this course. Please let me know if you either don't have the Creative Cloud or are having issues with it, and we can get that squared away, because that is something that you're going to need in order to be successful in this class and to complete the assignments. Right here we also have, this is another automatically generated announcement that went out. That this actually has information on this is another resource for multi-sessions. If for some reason you can't meet at the multi-session on Thursdays with me, then you can actually go to any of these multi-sessions you can get help there. Has a PDF schedule that actually tells the days, times, and the Zoom room links for the sessions. Okay, I'll close back out of that. All right, let's take a look on the syllabus. The syllabus here, I'm not going to read through everything here because I think that would just be a waste of your time, and I don't want to bore you all. So just take a brief brief read through this at some point to give you an idea of how the course is broken down. We had the course information, obviously instructor information we already went over. Course media, I'll show you that in just a minute. Excuse me, we have the course summary. These right here are all of the checkpoints, the assessments, the assignments, the discussions. They link right to those individual items. It's unlikely that you would be navigating to them from this particular section of the site, but it's good for you to know that you can get to them from there. Okay, the general guidelines right here. Some very, again, I'm not going to read through this, just some basic information. These are the reading, information on the readings, information on the quizzes, the writings, the lectures. These are all things that are expected of you as students in order to be able to complete and pass your courses, and what's being expected of you for course participation as well. There's a late submission policy, and I'm going to be going over the late policy of mine while we are doing the lecture today, but this is just general information, late policy for IU. Excuse me. So if there's any question about particular expectations, you can take a look in here. If it is not in there, you can ask me, and if I don't know the answer, I will make sure I find the answer for you. And that kind of goes with pretty much anything in this course or without this course. If there's any question that you have for me, feel free to ask, and I will make sure that I can get the answer for you. Okay, course information, we have the course description right here. We're going to be exploring the basics of graphic design, looking at the principles and the elements, kind of figuring out how to use them, how to apply them in your work, how to break them down and be able to extract them so that you can actually identify them. The different learning objectives right here. Again, just a little bit more information. This is approximately what you should be spending on your courses. If you're spending a great deal amount of time over this, please let me know. We'll see if we can figure out where you're having the most difficulty. This is, you know, just to give you kind of an idea. You don't want to be spending, you know, a lot less time than this, because that might indicate that you're not really putting forth your best foot. But if you don't quite spend you know, 9.36 hours a week in week one, that's not a big deal. It's just kind of an approximation. An outline of the course right here. Don't feel that you have to read through this whole thing all at the same time. If you'd like to print this out and kind of read along as you go, so you know what you're going to be looking at for that individual week, that might be helpful to kind of know what you're going to be getting from the lectures and from the readings in that particular week, so you know what to expect. Excuse me. For grading, yeah, the information right here, what a percentage is for the assessments and the assignments, the discussions, the daily checkpoints, etc., and your grading scale. And all of this is located on the course information link. We already went over my contact information. I don't think I need to give it to you again. And course media. This is probably going to be one of your most visited links. Excuse me. We have the readings and the lectures within this particular section. We have right here, we have week one. Oh, and I accidentally just clicked on that. We have the articles that need to be read. We have a few videos from lynda.com. Also very, very short videos. It actually gives you the numbers right there. So don't be discouraged. Don't be intimidated by the fact that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over 10 videos. They are very short. They're very succinct. So they're very easy to follow. You should be able to go right through them. This first lecture right here is a pre-recorded lecture. There is one every week. There is one 2-hour session that has already been pre-recorded and uploaded. It is super important to view this, hopefully before you even attend the live lectures or watch the recordings of the live lectures, because the information based out, or the information is given in these pre-recorded sessions. It kind of provides the basis for all of the information you're going to be learning during the week. It's going to give you a lot of the information in order to complete your assignments. So if you happen to, skip across and try to take a shortcut, you're going to end up missing a lot, and you might end up getting confused. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that you are not wasting your time, and that you're using your time as efficiently and effectively as possible. So cannot stress enough, this is kind of like the meat and potatoes of the course, and I will actually be building on those in my live lectures. So I might be referring to items in the pre-recorded session that if you haven't watched the pre-recorded session, you might get confused actually while you're listening to me. So want to make sure you watch those as well. If we go back to the home page, you can also access all of that media under readings and videos. Right here, we'll click this button. It's going to bring right back to where we were. And one more, clicking in the live sessions. This is where all of your live sessions will be posted, all the links. The times and dates are also listed right here. My live sessions are going to be Mondays and Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That happens to be where I am, which is the only reason I make note of that. And then the multi-session will be on Thursday from 12:30 to 2:30 Mountain Time. I will be in there for any one-on-one instruction, any specific questions. If you want a little bit of help on an assignment because you're kind of stuck, we can talk it through, and we just kind of go from there. The link is right here, and if you have trouble clicking the link, you can always copy and paste it right here as well. Once, once the sessions have been recorded, I actually will post them right within the correct week, so you can find them there. And I'll also post an announcement to remind you that it has been posted, so that if you did miss it, you can also find it within the announcements. Excuse me while I find my presentation again, because it seems to have closed on me. Okay, breeze right through. Okay, so just a little course overview. Week 1, we are going to be starting out by talking about what design actually is. We'll be going over some design trends over in the discussion. We'll be looking at the design history, or the history of design in your assignment. We'll be going over that in a little bit. And we'll be talking about the importance of looking back on the history of design in various eras, and extrapolating information from them, and kind of going into depth on the principles of design and the Gestalt theory. That the Gestalt theory is actually something that is specifically referenced in the pre-recorded session. So like I said, you want to make sure that you definitely pay attention to that session. Next week, where did we come from? We'll be going a little bit further into the elements and principles of design, how they work together, and how you can bring them together. You'll probably also start to determine what doesn't work and what does work. That's the whole basis for this course. So that would be great if you're when you start to realize that. Your assignment for the week is going to be an advertising makeover, where you're going to actually be designing an ad. The majority of the projects in this class are based on real life situations. So in this particular week, you'll be designing an ad based on clients' recommendations, or excuse me, suggestions. And then after that, you'll be doing a self-critique based on that makeover. So you actually have to do your assignment that week in order to be able to do the assessment. Because it's all connected here. Week 3 will be talking about finding creativity and inspiration, collaborating with other artists, looking to the past, looking to the future, trying to figure out where you might find your inspiration. Again, learning from the past will be the assignment that week. And I'm going to go over in just a couple minutes. I'm going to actually show you some examples of the assignments as well, to kind of give you an idea, maybe get you a little excited for the stuff that you're going to be able to do. The assessment that week was about design of social media. And actually in week 3, excuse me, the assignment is actually going to be creating a banner for social media. I've forgotten to mention that. So you're going to be using a slightly different application from week 2. Week 2 is going to be print. Week 3 is actually going to be digital. And then in week 4, we'll be going over developing your design presence, your online presence. And I'll show you how to create your online portfolio and how to include, or what to include, how to set it up, what you want to feature, what you don't want to feature. Any questions you have, obviously, you can ask me. And learning from the past, part 2 is where your assessment is for that one. And let's actually go through here. Looking for, here we go. And that one is not the correct one. I want, here we go. Sorry, I have too many screens open. Now, so these are some benchmarks that you will actually see in each week. I'm actually going to show you, go down to the modules. And if you click on your assignment, I'm going to go to the week 1. We have examples of A-level work. These are great examples of what an A should look like in any given assignment. So these are just some examples. This one right here is an example for this week, where you're going to be designing flashcards based on eras of history, design eras of history, and we'll be going over that tomorrow when I actually show you how to set that up. You'll be defining the era and then, excuse me, selecting a piece from the era and trying to pick out the individual elements. You'll be doing 3 of those, and the front of it will actually have the image along with the required information, and the back of it will be some kind of color palette selection from that particular era. You can see we have some annotations here that were obviously from the professor at that for that particular project. These actually might be very helpful for you, so you can kind of see where, despite the fact that this was an A project, you might be wondering why they chose something in particular, or why it was a good choice or why it wasn't a good choice. So even reading these comments might teach something completely different from what I happen to be speaking about in class. So we have a second one right here. Okay, so just kind of a slightly different layout for the color palette on that one. And right here as well, heroic realism. There's a list in the guidelines for the assignment. And again, like I said, we'll go over all that tomorrow. I don't want to be jumping ahead. And, I didn't realize I had scrolled down on that. Here's just another layout. This person decided to do it on the right-hand side and have the information on the left-hand side. So these are, like I said, these are examples of assignment 1, or assignment from week 1. Excuse me. Assignment 2, let me zoom out here, is the ad, the poster that I mentioned. And this is the second one, just a couple of really nice examples. So you'll be using typography, you'll be using some design elements, working with color a little bit, you know, and as you're creating them, I'm sure you'll run into different problems. You want to try to do something and you can't figure it out. There are wonderful, wonderful tutorials out there on the web, and you can always, like I said, you can always ask me. We also actually have a great class coach, Christy Paulson, who has hours that she can also help you out. You can come into the multi-session and tell me what you're looking to do and why you can't figure it out. Excuse me. With these particular projects, in your previous classes, I think you've probably been focusing on mainly using the software. These particular projects are focusing on developing your creative sensibility. So I'll be going over examples like tomorrow and kind of showing you how to get the project set up. But you are incredibly encouraged to use your own creativity, try to figure out ways of solving those problems, excuse me, within your given parameters of your assignment. That's how you would end up fulfilling your duties as a graphic designer out in the professional world. So this is kind of like a practice for that. Okay, and so these last two are assignments of the social media banner. So there's not as much text, but the individual, you know, you used a little bit of artistic license by adding some lines right here to kind of get some movement in. Almost feels like the lines are actually kicking the bag as opposed to the individual there. You know, nice starkness where the text is all kind of all together, and the color choice and everything. So these are just some great examples. You know, this particular portion over here, these were actually probably were both done in Photoshop. The text and the color blocks here could have been done in Illustrator, InDesign, but this most likely was probably done in Photoshop. And this right here, obviously they used some filters for Photoshop. They were having a lot of fun with the colors in there. I saw this for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I just completely loved it. It almost looks like a diamond. And that's not the direction that I personally would have gone, only because I don't think to do that. So that's one thing that I love about this industry, is that you are always learning, no matter who you're speaking with, whether it's a student, a teacher, a colleague. You folks can learn from each other. You can learn from me. I can learn from you. I can learn from my colleagues. It is a very, very fast-moving industry. It's very difficult to keep up, but I also kind of like that challenge as well. So soak up all the information that you can. There we go. So just to reiterate, we are going to be having 4 hours total of required lectures. The first one is the pre-recorded session that I already mentioned. There's only one. It's 2 hours long. Really would encourage you to do it before you start your assignments, so you make sure that you don't miss anything. take some decent notes. Lisa Hammershine, I believe her last name is really wwonderful. She goes fairly slow, but not so slow that it's tedious. She's incredibly informative. I mean, even if you're having a tough time watching it because you're thinking, oh God, it's 2 hours, it's already recorded. Break it up if you have to. Watch a half an hour and then go have dinner and then come back and watch another 45 minutes. It's a very easy way to go about that. And then we have the 2 live sessions, one on Monday nights, one on Tuesday nights, 1 hour each. On Mondays, I'll give you a weekly overview. We'll do some tips, some critiques. And on Tuesdays, we'll actually go over the assignment details and do some demos. Just a little disclaimer, I will probably be using critiques of projects in the class. If there is a problem or you would prefer I not use yours, do not worry. I do not use names. I will not use names. But if you really are still concerned about me critiquing yours in the recorded session, just send me a message asking me to not do that, and I'll just make sure that I put yours to the side. Some additional resources, like I said, the weekly videos and readings, lynda.com. Those videos are super short. But still very, very informative. And I think, for example, the videos from this week go over the basics of InDesign. So if you've never used this program before, those are super imperative that you watch them. If you have, watching those quick videos might actually be a nice refresher for you. Another additional resource, Adobe's help page is wonderful. I believe I have it up here too. There we go. There is a forum that you can actually kind of go through and see if your question has already been asked. You can select, like I just did, you can select specific software. So a whole bunch of questions have already been asked, obviously. So, I mean, hopefully you will have already downloaded InDesign. However, there are plenty of other resources in here that you can look at, tutorials, especially if you have a very specific question that you are looking to do. If you're coming up, empty in Google, you might actually be able to find it here, or vice versa. If you can't find it here, maybe you'll find it in Google. But either way, I mean, I cannot explain the number of times I have had a specific job that has required a specific effect, and I have managed to find wonderful videos online, and I have bookmarked them and referred to them later. Excuse me. You also, oops, goodness, I accidentally hit the mouse there. Multi-session, again, like I said, for demos and help on Thursdays, one-on-one time with me, one-on-one time with any other instructor in any of those other multi-sessions that I mentioned in that schedule. In addition to that, Christy Paulson is, like I said, she's great. She has wonderful reviews from other instructors that I've spoken with. So you can contact her for help. And you can also actually access the Student Success Center as well. And this is for, graphic help. This is for writing help. You want someone to go over your paper before you submit it. All these are great, great resources. For your discussions, the first post is due on Wednesday at 11:59 and 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time, and the 2 follow-up posts, so responses to other people, are due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. 1 post must be substantive, containing at least 150 words, and 1 APA formatted citation. I want to make sure that you guys know what you're talking about. I mean, there's so much information out there, so you can absolutely find stuff out there to reference and back up your information. I also just encourage you to expand on the topic that you're talking about in your replies. Try to see this, this takes place of the in class, the actual physical classroom. So where we don't typically talk back and forth to each other, this is your way to ask questions. If you see someone that mentions something you don't really know what they mean, ask what they mean about it, ask where they got this particular resource. If you had an experience that was very similar to another one of your classmates, share it, let them know how you resolved it, because that's what these discussions are all about. However, we do want to make sure that we are staying away from plagiarism. We want to make sure that while you are backing up your opinion with evidence, please don't just copy and paste. And if you happen to be copying, you need to add the quotation marks and a citation so that we know that that was someone else's words. And make sure to reference your images as well, even if it's just to tell me where or tell us where that came from. The assignments, they are due Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time of that week. Like I've repeated a couple times here, we'll be doing demos in the live sessions, and I'll also be adding some extra details here and there that might not be in the instructions. So, excuse me, my goodness. I really encourage you to watch those live sessions, or please come to them. Me talking for an hour is probably a lot less interesting than if people were engaging in the class as well. And probably a lot more interesting for you if you happen to be the one that comes in as well. Also the assignments, like many other instructors, I not only accept revisions and resubmissions, but I do encourage them. That's the only way we get better at our design. We utilize the critiques. It's just like when you're working with a customer, they tell you what they do or they don't like. You work on it, you send it back. You might send it back to you several times. And don't get discouraged about that. Consider it a learning process. There's a reason why people that have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years are amazing designers. It also gives you a great practice of your software and design skills. You're never going to learn it all. I don't even know if Adobe engineers know it all. It is funny, you find new tools out every single day. And even if you have someone that has only been doing it for a month, you've been doing it for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, they might be able to show you a quicker way of doing something. So the back and forth is very helpful. For your assignments, they do need to be on time if you want to submit revisions, unless we've spoken about it ahead of time. I can't be accepting revisions all throughout the entire mod if it happens to be late, and then I get a revision that's also late. It's a little bit too much. So, and in addition to that, only one revision per assignment for the grading. Assessments are essentially quizzes. They're there to kind of test your understanding of the week's material. Sometimes it's quizzes, sometimes it's papers, that kind of thing. They're due at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time of that week as well. And they're also going to kind of test the tools that you need to demonstrate that you understand them in the readings, the videos, and then also taking into account the additional tips that I've provided in live sessions. For the assessments, I will only be doing tips. I can't do any step-by-step demos because that's kind of like giving you a test and then giving you the answer sheet. You can ask questions. I just can't tell you exactly how to do it. So, and then for the assessments, no resubmissions. That's only to the assignments. Same thing with the coaches. The coaches can show you the tools, but not actually how to do the assessment as well. Late policy, like I mentioned before, we have the typical IU late policy, but my individual policy, if something occurs to prevent your assignment, your assessment from being submitted on time, please, please, please contact me before so I know what's going on. You don't have to give me specifics, but just let me know that there is something that happened to come up. So, email, phone, text, there are plenty of ways to get a hold of me. We can figure something out. I want to make sure that we are all working together so that you folks are successful in this class. After the deadline is just that. It's after the deadline, so the work would be penalized for being late. And I mean, think about what you might do if this was your job. Would it be acceptable to a boss, to a supervisor, to a manager? Since this particular course is kind of gearing you towards getting ready for a career, you want to kind of keep that in mind. Some very basic tips for succeeding in this course. And, you could probably even apply this to most of your other courses. Start out by watching the pre-recorded lectures and take notes on those. Watch the live sessions either by coming in on Monday and Tuesday nights or watching the recordings and doing that before you start your work. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had a client send me a message requesting some artwork. Maybe their email was a little ambiguous, so I went back to the customer and found out through an additional conversation that what they were requesting was not at all what I was translating. It would save me a lot of time and energy by going over the request ahead of time. Very, very similar. Watch the live sessions. That could probably answer some of your questions before you even get going on your project and prevent you from having to spend more hours or additional hours working on the project. And number 3, checking over the week's work before they get started. That kind of actually goes right back to number 2. Just make sure you're kind of looking over everything before you get going. Number 4, checking the announcements. I do want to say at least 5 times a week, but if you're checking them regularly, just please make sure you read them, because like I said, that is how I'm going to be able to communicate with you folks. There is going to be some great information in there. I'm going to try not to really bog you down with it, because I do know that can get kind of get overwhelming. But there will be some important information and reminders in there. In addition to some resources, if I happen to find something that is helpful, I might stick it in the announcements and go from there. Number 5, do your daily checkpoints. You want to make sure that you're doing those quick quizzes. Again, just a reminder, those videos are they're between 3 and 5 minutes long, super, super quick. Very helpful, and the quizzes don't take long. And if you get enough of them done, that's additional points towards your grades. So please participate fully in the discussions. I know that today is the first day. The course has only been open for so many hours, but I know I've already seen some discussion posts in there, which I was thrilled about. So please fully participate. Do at least the 3 posts that you need to do, because that's the only way you're going to get any. You're going to get fully absorbed in the information. Is what you're going to. I'm just babbling now. So by fully participating in the discussions, that's the only way that you are going to feel like you're fully participating in the discussion. And we're moving on to number 7. For the assignments, please make sure that you read the background information and the submission instructions and carefully. There are instructions on file type and file size and file naming convention. All that is very important. If you were doing this for a client, they would have specific instructions as well. And it looks like I have 2 number 7s there. So the next one, watch the demos and the examples in class. Those are going to be very, very helpful for when you go and start your projects. Submit your work on time. I think that one's kind of self-explanatory. Contact me if you have any questions or if you're running into problems or delays. Obviously, if it is you know, an issue that you're having on a non-educational avenue, I probably won't be able to help with that. But if there is a problem or a delay within your education, I could very well either help you myself or directly direct you to the correct resource. So please let me know. Just keep the communication lines open. Next one, utilize the multi-sessions, the class coach, and the student tutoring center there for help and feedback. We are all here to help you succeed. And then one of the most important steps is to start your work early and to pace yourselves. You don't have to get everything done on the Monday, but don't leave everything till the Saturday either. That it's just going to cause you more stress, and we do not want that. Well, since no one is in our session tonight, probably no one has any questions. But just a quick overview. How many lectures do you need to watch per week? We have 3. One of them is the pre-recorded one for 2 hours, and then the 2 live sessions for 1 hour each. And how many hours did I just say? 4 hours total. Pre-recorded one has 2, and the live sessions have 2. Where do you find the lectures and the recordings? You can find them in the live session link or the course media link. You can actually find a lot of the pre-recordings. And when are the live sessions? Monday and Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And how about the multi-sessions? Thursday, 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Now, secret question, I'll be including one of these in each of my sessions, hopefully, to try to make sure you guys are watching a little interesting tidbit or something silly or whatever. Just send me a message. Let me know that you saw this. So today's question is, what did my family dress as for Halloween this year? And the answer is The Incredibles. This is my 3 kids, my husband, and I. And you'll learn a little bit more about them as we go throughout the course. They're a big part of my life. So just a quick week 1 overview. So this week we're going to be defining the 4 basic principles of design, showing how to use them in the projects that we're going to be working on, such as those flashcards. We're going to be distinguishing between proper and improper usage of those principles within a composition. So we'll talk about how they work, how they don't work, why they don't work, and kind of give you some practice on how to be able to extract that information. Identify how the Gestalt principles impact visual perception and visual communication. So again, how things work, how they don't work, why they work, why they don't work. But the recording, the pre-recorded lecture actually has a lot more information on that. So refer to that to kind of get a little bit more info. We'll be applying the design style to a composition using the influences of an era that is also based on those flashcards. Excuse me. And discussing the ways that the past eras have influenced contemporary design trends. And I very much look forward to kind of seeing the things that you guys come up with. I always love taking a look at what people kind of bring to the table there, and the images that they like, the artists that they like, and you know, I always love being exposed to different things myself. So the pre-recorded lecture that I have referenced several times now is it focuses on what graphic design really is and where it came from. We're actually I'm going to show just a couple minutes of it, so you know that it's not that bad. So here we go right now.
Basically, graphic design is everywhere. So we're going to look at just a couple pictures. You know, this may not be the view from the view from your city or from your house, but you're going to see a couple places. So graphic design is signage, things to tell you stores are open, things to tell you stores are closed. Graphic design is helping you navigate through spaces, understanding kind of what to do in certain places, how to kind of move through the world in a very physical way. And graphic design is also a very digital practice. So this is something that, in theory, I would say is new, but the internet is coming up on well over 20 years. So not quite as new anymore, but newer in the whole scheme of things. But yeah, so graphic design also has a highly digital component to it. So websites, apps, this is a graphic design application, graphic design example. What happens on this page, as well as what happens once you click, once you sign up. And then even this is a good example of graphic design. So the interface that you navigated through to get into this course, to access this video, to access the content for the next 4 weeks, all an example, again, of graphic design. So it's very important to realize that we actually live most of our lives in a highly designed world. So every logo, every box, every sign, every screen probably actually started out in the mind of a designer. So how amazing is that, right? We're studying to be graphic designers, and the world that we live in is design. So the potential for us in the future is that we get to design the world that people live in. What? That's such a cool thing. And I mean, that's also such a huge responsibility, because as designers, we make the spaces that people live in. And wow, just think about that for a couple minutes. But yeah, so we live most of our lives in a highly designed world. Everything that we are surrounded by essentially has some piece of graphic design or a designer that was part of the process. And that brings us into a slight challenge.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it right there. So that's just kind of a sample of the pre-recorded lecture. She does a great job of explaining the use of design in our world and how it works. And these lectures are super, super important, because if you don't understand the principles, you'll have a very hard time being successful. So we want to make sure that you are successful, not only this week in this class, in your design program, but also in your career, since that is what you're striving for. Excuse me, I didn't want to click on that. So the AIGA, is the American Institute of Graphic Arts. It's actually a great resource for all things graphic arts. And they actually did a great job of explaining what graphic design is with this quote. Graphic design is a creative process that combines art and technology to communicate ideas. The designer works with a variety of communication tools in order to convey a message from a client to a particular audience. The main tools are image and typography, and it's kind of a long definition, but it's a fairly succinct one. It's fairly accurate. We as designers are attempting to communicate with someone. And very often that someone is a different someone than the last project that we created for. So we have to understand where they are coming from, what the message is, what we hope that the message will create or what the message will do. So that, I mean, the definition, I thought very accurately portrayed what we as graphic designers attempt to create. So we are just 5 minutes off of the end of the session, so I am going to make sure I had other slides prepared just in case, but I'm actually just going to end it here. So tomorrow's lecture, we're going to go over the basics of the design principles, and we'll go over the details of this week's assignment, and I'll do a demonstration and give you a few tips for the assessment for this week. And that is about it. So please, like I said, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. As we get going in this course, please, please, please participate in that introduce yourself discussion, because I want to know all about you guys. And hopefully I will see some of you in the live session tomorrow.